the next big step in India's space odyssey, a manned mission to space on board an Indian spacecraft mounted on an Indian rocket. The Gaganyaan mission has been cleared by the cabinet today. It's going to be expensive, a whopping 10,000 crore rupees. But it does give huge impetus to the spirit of scientific endeavor in the country. But the larger questions do remain. Could these funds not have been used better elsewhere? For examples, in robotic missions or probes to other planets or in satellites where India has such expertise. So many decades after human beings went to space for the first time, what exactly are we now going to achieve with a manned Indian mission to space? That's the question we're asking tonight.
कैबिनेट ने इंडियन ह्यूमन स्पेस फ्लाइट इनिशिएटिव गगनयान प्रोग्राम को अपनी सहमति दी है। यह गगनयान प्रोग्राम है जिसमें हम 3 मेंबर क्रू को 7 दिन तक स्पेस पे भेजेंगे। इसके टोटल फंड की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी 10,000 करोड़, जिसको कैबिनेट ने अप्रूव किया है। हमारी कोशिश है कि फर्स्ट ह्यूमन स्पेस फ्लाइट डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन is to be completed within 40 days of the announcement.
Well, what exactly is an Indian astronaut going to look like? There are rumors, and this may actually work out to be true, that we won't use the word astronaut, we'd use the word Vyomnauts. And they would, of course, be wearing very specialized kit. What would an Indian Vyomnaut look like? Pallav Bagla has some answers.
I'm inside ISRO and wearing a space suit. This is the kind of space suit which an Indian astronaut will wear as part of the Gaganyaan mission. A 10,000 crore mission for the Indian Space Research Organization, and the Prime Minister has set a goal that an Indian boy or a girl should be spent in space by 2022. The Indian cabinet has given a thumbs up for this important mission, which means now ISRO can go full steam preparing that an Indian could be launched in space by 2022. Inside ISRO, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.
Well, that was a real exclusive. The kit that the spacesuit that Indian Vyomnauts would actually don, because that's something that's actually been designed. It's being processed and refined now. But does it really make sense to spend 10,000 crores on a mission, a manned mission to space, so many decades after it's been done in the past? Joining us, Air Vice Marshal Pankaj Tyagi, somebody who's a real expert when it comes to, discussing manned missions to space and the Indian program specifically. Also, Dr. Madhavan Nair, the former ISRO chief. I'd like to thank both of you very much for being with us. Dr. Nair, we are world beaters in satellites. We are world beaters in certain rockets. Our probes have been superb. Mangalyaan has been wonderful. Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2. Do we really need to put a man or a woman in space?
Certainly, this is a bold decision by the government, and it's going to be the turning point as far as ISRO is concerned. The perfection in technology, what we have achieved in rockets, spacecrafts, and using the space assets for the benefit of the common man is a sort of world record today. And next phase, certainly our competence in the in sending humans to outer space and the planets will be very, very important. Now, if you look at the global scenario, America has got a capability, but their space shuttle is decommissioned. The Chinese, they have their capability, but they don't make it available to the others.
Yes.
But Russia is the only source which is available for sending astronauts to outer space. Why do you want to send an astronaut to the space? Well, as you know, robots and instruments, they can certainly do a programmed operation as desired. But when it comes to a real-time decision making, presence of the human along with the instruments is very, very important. The first and foremost is the Earth observation itself. We have to learn quite a lot more about the planet Earth, the climate change, weather patterns, agriculture, forests, resource management, and so on.
Okay.
So that is the first objective which can do. Secondly, the security needs definitely needs a closer observation of many objects and many events. That also will be augmented by the presence of man in space. And thirdly, it's going to provide an opportunity for those who want to explore the galaxies and other planets beyond the solar system very precisely from a platform without any disturbance in the outer
Okay,
space.
Dr. Nair, I just want to
Then
go
of
across
course
to Air
comes
Marshal
the
Tyagi as
material
well.
processing.
I just want to go across to Air Marshal Tyagi as well. Air Marshal, who's going to be our first Vyomnauts, as they are known? Air Force pilots? How is it going to work?
No, that the question, the whole decisions will be taken at the appropriate time.
Yes.
But generally, the test pilot is a system engineer also. And in the initial stages, I think one of the persons who will lead this mission should be a test pilot. That's my view.
And Air Marshal, in terms of where we stand technology-wise, in order to get men and women into space, I know we've made a prototype module. We have the rockets which are being certified even further, variants of the GSLV. We have a lot of the technology, but in terms of technology to ensure the safety and the habitability of an environment in space where our astronauts would be, where do we stand?
Yeah, Vishnu, we all are looking at this very carefully, and gap analysis are being done in a very scientific manner. What infrastructure we have, what technical manpower we have. Fortunately, Indian Air Force had invested very early in post-independent in Institute of Aerospace Medicine, which has been working in this field for almost 40 years now. And they have built a capacity to actually understand the whole thing. But there are gaps, there are huge gaps which need to be quickly understood and then taken care of as early as possible, because time is short and a lot of support would be required from everyone. And the Space Commission has been a very powerful body which has understood the whole thing very well, and hopefully ISRO is building a rocket. The Institute of Aerospace Medicine and those who are involved in aerospace medicine are the people who should be involved right from the design stage to the execution of the project, like we do in aircrafts.
Right.
So we have that capability. The bridging of gap has to be done, and one leader has to take on the whole group together, along with other institutes which will be required for this massive program.
All right. Dr. Nair, just for the benefit of our viewers, in terms of precision, in terms of fail-proof technologies, how is this the ultimate test for ISRO's capabilities, particularly since we've set a deadline of just 2022?
Well, certainly it's going to be a challenging task to achieve the 2022 target. But the basic thing is we have been working on this bit by bit in the early also. One of the problem is the re-entry and how to manage a precision landing either in the land or ocean. In 2008 itself, we have demonstrated this by bringing back a satellite, about 500 kg satellite from space, and it fell in the Bay of Bengal. From there, we have picked, with the help of Navy and Air Force, we have safely brought it back to the ground. Then comes the space suit, we have seen already, the proto model of that. Then the habitable module is going to be a real challenge. As the Air Marshal has pointed out, we have to understand the requirements of human body, not in terms of the normal living condition, but under the microgravity condition, and food management, waste management, then how one can be doing the physical exercises and so on. So many things has to be understood. Already some initiative have been taken with Air Force, and some of the experiments have already started. Right. So we will be strongly depending on them. But coming to the engineering side, the reliability of the launch vehicle has to be improved by an order of magnitude. You don't want to take a risk with the human life. So the reliability improvement of the launch system, providing adequate redundancies and the fallback, fail-safe mechanisms and all those things will be needed within a very short time. Then of course the entire the training of the astronauts is going to be a major challenge. There are some facilities available with the Air Force, but for several we may have to depend on outside sources for the initial phase of the program. So it's going to be a really engineering challenge. But what needs to be done, the discussions have been going on with various agencies, analysis have been carried out within the ISRO centers, and today there is a fructification of that. The project report submitted by ISRO contains all these details, and ISRO is known for its capability to work with multiple organizations and industries to achieve the goals on time.
Okay, one final question to Air Vice Marshal Tyagi. Sir, just in terms of the future, we now have, human beings going to low Earth orbit. As far as our program is concerned, it's not going to be limited to that. What are we trying to set ourselves up for? Could we see, for example, an Indian space station?
200%, Vishnu, because this is just the travel phase. Once the travel phase is over, then we got to explore, discover, claim and inhabit. That is the ultimate aim, because this is what the 4 nations who have the capacity are doing. So, today, because of the decisions which have been taken at the right level, India is capable of reaching those points in future, and we should just not stop at some one odd flight like that. We have plans to make a space station. I think the 3rd or 4th flight should actually go around the moon, because we have the capability of doing that, and thereafter we should plan right in the beginning only, right now, that how we are going to manage and build our space station, as China has done.
All right.
And you are aware of that, the moment, yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank both of you very much for joining us. It's such a fascinating story, and yes, cynics would say that we've been doing, human beings have been in space for so many decades. What's India actually going to achieve now? But I think the fact that we have this technology, it's well within our grasp, and that the future is so positive is something that all of us should feel very, very proud about. The future as far as Indian space missions beyond this one hasn't been written as yet, and I think that's when it's going to actually get to a truly world-class level. I'd like to thank both of you very much for joining us. My colleague Pallav Bagla, our science editor, also spoke to the ISRO chief in this exclusive interview.
Gaganyaan actually is a very fantastic mission, and that really is going to make a game changer, I would say, in the technology of the India, science and technology of India. And we are targeting for the first unmanned mission of Gaganyaan by 2020 December. And by 2021 July, we want to have the second the unmanned mission, so that we can target for the manned mission by 2021, which is having something like 8 months margin over the period our Honorable Prime Minister put a target. But this is not our target only, but the real thing may happen slightly. It depends on the availability of the system and hardware.
All right, well, a huge target 2022. It's not going to be easy. Lots of technologies need to be proved. They need to be certified by an order of magnitude to ensure that they're reliable enough for human missions. That's going to be ISRO's big challenge. And believe me, here on NDTV, we are going to be tracking every moment of the journey to that manned space flight. It's so exciting for an entire generation of Indians to see where Indian technology has actually achieved. We're out of time on this program. Goodbye.